everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're just going to be doing a quick review over the new Warfare Broadside update. The new weapons, new mechanics, what things might change, the new weapons themselves in general, what all they do, how powerful they are, and, just overall, what changes we might see in the future, what changes we might need to see, and, yeah, I think it'd be easier for, just go straight into it, guys. And foremost with our wonderful additions, and we'll start off with the artillery cannon. Now this one is not the artillery cannon, the brand new artillery turret. This thing is the strongest out of all the turrets, especially out of the brand new ones, featuring the ability to fire through 3 to 4 layers of light armor and 1.5, if you're lucky, even 2 whole layers of heavy armor. This thing does not deal any AoE damage, but is rather more of a piercing effect. All the brand new weapons do piercing, and it seems that rockets still hold the capital on area of effect. Now, I do think that the artillery cannon should have some small area of effect, perhaps maybe what the rockets are right now, and then the rockets be buffed up, because it seems as though that they're not quite going to be as effective, or as, they're not really going to be as useful as they are anymore. So I think perhaps maybe a double in the range of the area that a rocket could affect, or possibly creating a high explosive rocket for future use would definitely be a big help, as an expansion of its area of effect would definitely be very useful. Now the artillery cannon features a 10 to 15 second reload. I lost the stat paper. I had it all written down, and I woke up this morning and it's no longer here, and I've been searching for it for hours, so take some of this with a grain of salt, but I definitely do remember how far they can pierce into things. The autocannon, being a less powerful version of the artillery cannon, also does not feature any form of AoE. It is a piercing shot. It goes through about half of what an artillery gun would, but no matter how many times you shoot it at what angle, it will not go through an entire block of heavy armor in a single shot. In fact, 2 shots kind of also don't do the trick. I'd say it's good against light armor targets, just good for getting damage down in general. Anti-fighters, I think Gatling guns still hold the monopoly on there, but if you really want to build an anti-fighter turret, I would highly suggest you get the new turret control block and use a small grid for the auto cannons, the static weapons. If you want to be able to do that, that would be far more effective. But auto cannons are good if you're looking for a smaller powered artillery gun. They're definitely cheaper to make, their rounds are cheaper to make, and they do help put down a lot more suppressive fire. All in all, I do like the autocannon. Now, the one thing that really has me the most concerned is not the fact that there's a cat about to push the power button on my PC right now, and another one staring me down, but it's more of the fact that this railgun has a very high piercing amount. Okay, hello kitty. And it can go straight through 20 layers of light armor and up to 3.5 to, actually not up to 4. And the least I've seen it pierce with heavy armor, most is 4, and the least I've seen is 3. And even with that 3, it heavily damaged that last bit it hit. So it is definitely a very powerful weapon, and I don't know how many people are going to have 4 layers, like 3 to 4 layers of heavy armor on one side. Okay, now this is kind of where I think maybe we could go into a little bit of a touchy subject with the community, and I'm going to offer a little bit of a compromise. And I'm going to put a timestamp here and a title to show just exactly what that is that I'm talking about in terms of a compromise. PvP and PvE capabilities. PvE is specifically coming in later on, they did say that while current enemy AI do not have access to these weapons as of right now they're easy picking, but here soon within the future, it's gonna be a bit of a problem dealing with our new pirates because they'll have access to even heavier weapons. But you know what? I mean, they'd probably make them easier to spaceman rather than having to deal with them using a bunch of Gatling guns. Maybe you can just one-man no ship right inside them and take them out that way. I mean, hell, I've done it before. It is possible. So, cat, stop clawing at my hand. Okay, cat wants to play. Okay, I'll play a little bit while I do this. So, now, where the hell was I? Ah, yes, that's right. So, with the brand new Railgun being implemented, there definitely is going to be some issues, I do believe, within some PvP arenas. Now, I'm all for the Railgun, don't get me wrong, but I do think that a few more mechanics definitely needed. Now, there is Ricochet that has been shown to be put in now, and you can actually save yourself a few additional hits if you angle out your ship. So some sleek designs would definitely be beneficial. However, with the fact that we are on a 3D playing field rather than a 2D like we'd expect within an ocean or on the ground, this is 3D, guys. This is space, so do keep in mind enemy ships can still fly above and below. So angled ships, we're definitely going to be seeing some really interesting designs coming up here, I think. In fact, some sleek designs would be a little more required for combat. I mean, you want to be harder to hit, and if you do get hit, you do want those rounds to bounce off as much as possible. Now, those rounds will still do some piercing damage, but if we can lessen the effect, we can lessen the effect, that is for certain. So, I think, damn. You know, the more I think about it, the more I realize, like, we need a new form of armor system. I do think that maybe some reactive armor could probably be put in. Well, not probably, could certainly be put in, to where when you get hit, it blows up and then the round is just gone. But you only lose that piece of reactive armor. Certainly would have to be expensive. But, yeah. Let's kind of talk about some more of the static weapons. For the small grid, you have the assault cannon, which is kind of like the static version of the artillery gun, or the artillery turret. Now, the assault cannon does have a large grid equivalent, I would say, called the artillery cannon, or artillery gun. But given the fact that it's a small grid, it definitely does not deal as much damage as its large grid counterpart. They're certainly good for, you know, building tanks and, you know, some small grid defense, maybe something against a large grid to take out the big turrets, but unless if you're going against other small grid weapons, the assault and autocannon, probably not the best. Unless if you're firing them in a heavy amount of... If you're just raining a ungodly amount down, yeah, that's certainly going to be effective. Now, autocannons, I would say, are probably... You know, the more I recall the stats, the assault and auto cannons for small grids are very well balanced. One deals a lot more damage, the round moves slower. It reloads slower. You know, the assault cannon reloads slower, and you only get one shot per clip, whereas with the auto cannon, it reloads faster. You get 16 rounds per mag, or 16 rounds in a sequence before having to reload. Fires a lot faster, the rounds move faster. It is the perfect thing for... I'm going to say a heavy form of anti-aircraft as opposed to the Gatling guns, where the Gatling guns you need to maintain something under a constant stream of fire. I think the Gatlings will now have to be more anti-infantry or anti-player as opposed to the other bit. And now you get to see me kind of edit this. Give me a minute while I fix what's up on the screen. Yep, now that that's fixed, let's get on into, you know, just look at some more stuff. So we could definitely see the brand new cannons and turrets that have been introduced, both large and small grids. And keep in mind, the one on that blue side, that's all free. Anyways, but yeah, the new cannons, new turrets are definitely very welcome. We're going to see a lot of crazy new... we have been seeing a lot of crazy new creations within the community, and I gotta say, I love them. Like, they're funny, some of them, and some of them are just like, oh wow, they're just like, it's just madness what some of these evil geniuses can come up with in such short time. Now, along with these weapons, I will have to state, with the static ones at least, there is a form of, what's the word I'm looking for here? There's now recoil, which will definitely affect your ship, so do be watching out for that. In fact, fighters, for some reason, don't seem... my fighters don't seem to move the way they used to anymore, with and without the new cannons. They don't turn as fast. Now, granted, yes, they did have hinges on the wings to where they could fold up, but you know, they're not moving as fast as they used to. They don't turn as fast, and they just feel a little more clunky, I'm gonna say. Definitely a lot harder to use and control. So we're gonna be talking now about some of the other changes apart from the weapons a little more in full. That the artillery cannon, as I said before, should definitely have some AoE involved with it, as the piercing, I mean, everything's just kind of piercing now. So rather than just punching one small hole straight through armor, I think that the artillery cannon, if not completely revamped to this, should at least have, all weapons should have different ammo variants. Like, you have your armor piercing, and then the armor piercing for the artillery cannon will be the default of what it currently is. Then the default round will just be a mix between the artillery cannon and the high explosive, whereas high explosive has the current rocket's, I'm gonna say, area of effect, but not its damage. It'll have a little more damage, and I think this is where we can probably increase the rockets a little bit more, or perhaps maybe the artillery can have a little less damage for its AoE than compared to the rockets. Just like, state down in the comments below, guys, what you think should definitely change with these weapons as I go through, what all you agree with, what all you disagree with. Please give me some feedback, as especially now with their new AI going around, it's kind of important that we be as chatty as possible, and we try to work out as much as we can. So I do think that, you know, the new weapons should have different ammo types, and then an ability to cycle through that ammo to give an extra layer of immersion, and to really, really help out with the whole, you know, multi-man crewed ships, as the man who's working the weapon systems can focus more on, you know, just the type of the weapons. He had not more to focus on, but they have more to work with. To where you'll see that the more efficient ships are typically the ones that require multiple people in order to use. You know, you'll have the driver, and then you have the weapons operator, and then you have the guy who's repairing the whole frickin' thing. You know, that's pretty much where I could see it going. I do think perhaps some more systems could be integrated into the ship, and like I said before, with that timestamp, you can kind of see the other section that we could definitely go into. But I think that rockets should have a bigger area of effect now, or at least can have a high explosive variant to have that larger area of effect. And I think artillery, by default, should probably have maybe the autocannon's current piercing value, but with an addition of dealing bonus damage around whatever it hits. So, you know, it's gonna hit a lot harder in a lot more areas, but it's not gonna go through as much. If you guys can kind of see what I'm saying, you know, it goes out more rather than it goes in. I think that would definitely be wonderful for the artillery cannon, and then having a high explosive variant, you know, less piercing and more area of effect to a more dramatic extent than the rocket, because I mean, the artillery cannon takes longer to reload than the rockets, so I think it would only be logical that the artillery be a far more advanced version of the rockets, and still be better than the auto, and the autocannon or auto turret be brought down to about the same. Now, I think the autocannon, the static version itself, is fine the way it is. Just the autocannon in general is, it's fine. Yeah, I'd say it's fine where it's at. I think just with the artillery cannon, when I think of artillery, I think, you know, you fire that thing and it goes up, and then it comes down and just hits the ground in just a not really a blaze of glory, but just a thunderous, I don't want to say explosion, because artillery doesn't really explode when it hits the ground. It just hits the ground with so much force. It just kicks it kicks the ground up. Alright, so I think that it could definitely use a more, I'm going to say heavy type of feel to it. If not the turret, then at least the static cannon. Or, the assault cannon. Now keep in mind, the assault cannon turret, I've actually been calling it the auto turret for a while. It's not that. Autocannon is a small grid. I just now realized that looking at that. I just now remembered that. But so the assault cannon is fine where it's at. The assault turret is fine where it's at. Darn, now I'm all kinds of confused now. Regardless, these are some changes that I would like to see. Now, I think is now a good time to go into maybe some changes that we need to see. And this is, just bear with me here on this. And if you guys disagree with anything, if you guys have a different point of view, yes, please state down in the comments below. Detail it. I will make a whole nother video going over this one section. Okay, and I will do a whole series until we find something that the entire community can agree with, okay? Now, this is the base point of my idea for it. So let's just bear with me here, and let's look into this. Calm down, okay? Now, there's definitely some controversy. I am kind of on both sides of this. I can definitely understand why people don't want shields, and I can understand why people want shields, especially now. Originally, I was kind of against shields. I was kind of like, I don't really want it, but if there's a way to turn it off, that'd be fine. Now I kind of see shields more as in one way or another could definitely be required in the game in some light. Now, I understand people don't want to use shields. One, we have mods for that. Okay, if you want shields, you can just use a mod. So at the same time, it's not as immersive. Kind of takes the feel out of it. Kind of takes the engineering out of like highly advanced armor systems and like self-repairing bits. Why would you need that if the shield blocks all that damage, right? So I have a little bit of an idea that I think could be a little more agreeable with shields and could also add in a level of complexity, a bit of, I'm gonna say, a nice well-balanced feel to it, and could definitely help out with the multi-ship crew aspect of the whole ship. So, you got one guy piloting, and now it's kind of beneficial to have one guy overseeing the weapon systems while the other guy drives. So we can add in another guy to help out with its defenses. And just bear with me here on this, because no, a shield that blocks all damage that you have to just absolutely wail into in order to crack, no. That is just a big no. That is stupid. Okay, that is absolutely, it's just no. I don't want to sit there and fire every shot into the side of a ship just to break a shield only for it to recharge back up again, and I do absolutely no damage to that ship. I don't want to waste all of my ammo on something just to break a shield. So I think, personally, a good thing to do for a shield system is, rather than have it block off all the damage, and rather than it be a bubble, alright? It is instead, it requires a form of, like a shield generator, and then a shield projector. So, the generator has to have a specialized tubing connecting to the projectors. And there's a max limit to the amount of shield projectors that you can have on a ship. And to kind of, and yes, subgrids will have to kind of be included on that, because there's definitely ways how you could get around it using subgrids. So to prevent things that are like extremely overpowered, you can only have one projector facing a certain direction. I'll get into that here in a little bit. So the projector, you can only have 2 active at once, and the direction that they're facing, that is the side that it will project a shield at. So you have one on the left, one on the right. The front of your ship is still exposed, the back of your ship is still exposed, the top and bottom is still exposed. None of this dome crap, okay? And it's a little different from many mods that I've seen. I have not seen a mod that does this. Now, on top of that, rather than that shield blocking off all the damage, who here's played Titanfall 1? Okay? Now, in Titanfall 1, your Titan had a shield on it. And depending on the integrity of that shield, that would also depict on how much damage would go through it and hit the armor. So if you were at maximum shields, then it would take then that shield would take the max of that first hit. But as soon as it went down, it kind of had a percentage where your armor would take as well. So if you didn't have many shields, then your armor would definitely be taking a lot of damage, whereas the shield would just cushion a little bit of it. That's a good basis, but I think would be adding a little much on terms of the performance-wise. So I think, instead, shields could be preset to something a little more static. So it doesn't block off all the damage, but rather it blocks off up to a maximum of 50% of that damage. So we can see that railgun going through, from 20 things of light armor to like 4 things of heavy to only 2. That's not too bad, right? You activate more than 2 shield projectors and there's going to be a problem. Now, the way the projector would work is that it would, the generator, or at least let's say a shield control system, okay? A shield control unit. If any one of these 3 systems go down, your whole shield is going to go down. So that adds in a level of complexity that I think could definitely be beneficial, as well as can add in a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a way to kind of get around it. If you can find a soft spot where you can like pin at those systems, then you can disable it. But it's still a nice level of protection to where if you're getting shot at on the side, then you have your shield projectors activate on that side, and then you're not taking as much damage. But kinda as a downside of it, if your shields are up, I'ma say that all projectiles, the ones you send and the ones that are being received, they all go at half damage. So if you want to put out maximum damage, you lower the shield, you fire your volley, you raise the shield, and then that's kind of how the pattern you would have to take. Or if you're under constant fire, then you just kind of have to find a way to work around that. If not, then at least with the turrets, they maintain full damage, whereas static weapons, perhaps those are the ones that have the half damage taken on both ends, whereas on the receiving end, that's half damage all around. So your turrets won't take that half damage penalty, but when you use the static weapons or a custom turret, then they will take that half penalty. And on top of that, you have to have a choice on what kind of shields you want to have up. So I can think of 3 different shield types, okay? We'll call the first one kinetic. Kinetic being the shield that will defend you against rounds from the turrets and the static weapons. That's what the kinetic will defend you against. Rockets, bullets, artillery rounds, that's what it defends you against. That's what it will half the damage of. Now, the next shield type, and I'll get a little more in depth with these, what they all have in common, okay? The next shield type would probably be, I think a mass shield would probably be what it would have to be called. Anything going that, as soon as it goes through that shield, rather than it, dealing... I think I should probably explain what I mean by mass first, shouldn't I? Spacey me. Okay, so the mass shield defends you from structures, like player-built block missiles, things that have like a heavy armor round or something from a MAC cannon, guided missiles. If you build it up block by block, and it moves like fighters even. All right, things that go through that will wind up having its uh, will wind up having its speed halved almost immediately. All right, like you're just it doesn't matter, you know, how big it is. You go through that, you're gonna slow down dramatically, or perhaps maybe it could have a weight of your ship or a strength of the shield to the mass of the object coming at you, and it could slow things down and even push those objects away from the center. So, it loses its forward momentum, but it is then gained in a separate direction. So that way, these player built battering rams, suicide bombers, missiles, they don't hit you with as much force. Okay? And I think for the final shield, we'll call it an explosive shield. This is good against warheads, primarily and mainly warheads, as well as anything with some form of AoE effect, to where it does basically what the others do. It halves the explosion damage and the explosion size of that warhead, or of that explosion. And I think maybe some more objects that explode could also be beneficial. I think perhaps maybe even a fourth shield can be added in, just so this way, we can kind of. I'll get into the fourth shield a little bit later. So, yeah, all these shields will have something in common. One, like I said before, you can only have you can only have two up at a time. Now, you can put two projectors on one side, and then increase the strength of that shield on that one side. But you're only going to get probably about 75%. And if one of those shield projectors go down, then it's not going to be... It's going to be lopsided. Like, you have to put the shield projectors lined up with your ship's center of mass. Okay? So if one shield goes down on that one side of the mast, then it's going to be a little lopsided. It's not going to protect that whole end. So, I don't know. What do you guys think of that so far? All right. I mean, that seems kind of good, right? I mean, only two projectors could be up at once. It requires three things in order to activate, and they all must be, two of those must be connected together. Like the shield generator must be connected through a pipe of some sort to the projector. And the way I think of how we can go about getting these shields is, well, first, we go with the fourth shield that I think everybody could probably agree on, and this will have to do with a brand new addition to the game. It will have to be added in entirely. So, normally when a reactor is broken, nothing happens. You just lose power, green smoke comes out, but apart from that, nothing really happens as far as I can tell. I think environmental hazards could be an excellent addition to the game. Like cosmic background radiation on different planets like Mars, you can put it on the moon, small amount on Petram, Earth you're fine, out in space there's a bunch, and then, you got gamma radiation from the reactors. So that'll play a part of your life support system, and then maybe you can even have a new station where we could upgrade our suits, maybe defend us against more bullets, or defend us against the environmental hazards to where our life support systems stay online longer against those types of things. I think something like that would definitely help out. If, let's say, a battery busts, or something just electrical breaks, it's gonna fizzle, it's gonna spark, and there's a chance it could electrocute you or something. So, oh no, we gotta kind of, have some kind of environmental shielding for that. And it could also add in some brand new weapons, like EMP weapons could be a brand new type of explosive weapon. And then explosive shields can then go to maybe energy shield. No, not energy shield. They're all kind of energy shields when you think about it. But, it could go over to an environmental thing. Addition of nebulas that can contain a new type of gas, perhaps argon or helium-3, a new type of resource out there in space required for these shields to work, similar to hydrogen thrusters. They require fuel to work, so helium-3, hey, there we go. You go out to a nebula, you put like a gas type of extractor on your ship, you grab that helium-3, process it, refine it, there you go. See, it adds in more levels of complexity for the shield to where it's not just slap it on a ship, you're good to go. It just seems too easy. Too easy. I mean, we're talking about something that is extremely futuristic. No scientist as of yet has found a way to make it work. And theories remain only theories and science fiction. So I think the more things that we add into it, granted, yes, this game is set probably about 100, 200 years in the future, but still, like, the more levels of complexity that we have, the more realistic it would seem. So with these environmental shields could also be somewhat, you know, needed to go deeper into a nebula to more gaseous rich areas where you could probably find things like argon for new uses of like argon or something like that. Or, you know, you can also pull out oxygen as well as hydrogen out of these nebulas. And helium-3 is in lower quantities on the shallow end where you gotta go deeper in to the nebula where there's probably some kind of lightning or something going around. And these nebulas are temporary, so like they fade in and then they fade out and they fade in somewhere else, so it kind of gives some people to fight over when they finally do see it. Adds more warfare into it. You know, that's just what I think would be a good addition to the game, especially now, because now you have a shield system that could have the damage at best, at most efficient. Shield systems are also could be very power extensive, and just more uses for them. So, you know, if you environmental shielding could be the one that actually does go all around, or maybe it's just like a separate stat system for your ship. You have like environmental shield points or something like that, or maybe just something only for your character. And it could also add in some new weapon options for people. You're like, oh yes, you build a nuclear reactor, you put a small thing of uranium into it, you fire it out, and then it just battering ram hits something, and then people on the inside better have some sort of radiation shielding, otherwise they're gonna take rad damage. I don't know, I mean, that seems like something I'm willing to compromise with something like that, because it is not that whole indestructible shell that you gotta first break through like you see up there as of right now. It doesn't stop everything right there. It just slows it down. It makes it easier to handle. And, you know, there could be some other things. Like, what all do you think can be added in as well for shields, guys? I want to hear it down in the comments below. Please do share this video, get it out there. They got that new AI that they're using now here soon, or if not already. So, you know, the more we talk about this stuff, the more they're going to see it. And, you know, let's just come to a compromise, guys. Let's find something that I think we can all agree on to help us better defend ourselves against these super powerful weapons. Alright? Peace out. Enjoy your day. My mouth is dry. I need some freaking water.